for you, man. All right, I'm ready for that. Man, I love overcomers, man. I love program with Narcotics Anonymous because it gives me another opportunity, man, to share my experience, my strength, and my hope. To let you all know that I'm just like you. I'm just like you. I'm exactly like you. I've had doubts about God. I had doubts about me becoming anything out of life. I've had all kind of trials and tribulations throughout my life, man, that made me doubt that any good can come from me. That God used me for anything. I always like, nah, I don't think I want to, talk about anything, man, because I don't believe that God could do for me what I've seen him do for so many others. I thought I was just like the black sheep, man, but I came to find out that that was a lie. That was a lie, man, just a little bit about me, man. I have 5 other siblings besides myself. I always was up under them, I'm a baby boy, I got a baby sister that was born later after me, like 10 years, we're like 10 years apart. And being the baby for a long time, man, and then 10 years later, here come this other little snot-nosed kid, and I'm like, oh no, like, it rained on my parade, because now I wasn't getting any more attention. And then when I went out and snuck off the porch and tried to go and hang with the crowd, it was always, I was so-and-so little brother, and I didn't want that. I wanted my own identity. I wanted them to respect me for who I was and what I did. I didn't want them to say, oh, that's so-and-so little brother. I wanted my own name. Well, doing those type of things, man, living under someone else's shadow, I started to realize that I might need to do something that I would be known for, So then I started being this rude character that wanted everything to go my way. If it didn't go my way, I pressed it until it did. I was seeking my own identity, never knowing who I was, because I was always so-and-so little brother. Well, a chance came for me to show myself one night, and I can remember it like it was yesterday, man. Me and a friend of mine, my mom had dropped us off at a football game. And it's a very known football game in Alabama called the Blue and Gray game. And we got dropped off at the Blue and Gray game, and my mom was like, well, I'm dropping y'all off at. I want y'all to be right here when I come back and pick y'all up. The game should be over with at 11 o'clock. I don't care if it's 12 o'clock. When I pull up, y'all need to be right here. Well, Mom, that's just a little bit too long for me to wait. When my mom, I guess, I don't know if she showed back up or not, but if she did, we was gone. Because after the game, everybody was walking one way and walking this way, and we like, shoot, we're gonna walk home, which was a good walk, man. But my friend kept telling me he wanted to show me something. And back then, they didn't have all of them warns, they warning you and stuff, metal detectors and stuff like that right there. You can just not take a gun anywhere you go. Because the crowds were so big, they didn't have time to, search everybody. They just want to see that ticket and you go head on. Well, he showed me a gun. And on that night, we was walking home, man. A guy came up to us, man, and he was like, I know you little so-and-so little brother. He was like, man, would you go in Mr. Green's store and get me a soda pop, man? And I'm like, man, I ain't gonna do that because I don't know what he got going on. He said, well, I'll buy you one. Okay, all right, we've been walking for a minute. Okay, yeah, I'll go get you a soda. So I goes in the store, man. Long story short, come back out, man. He was out here with some guys, man, and they was talking, and the guys was telling him they didn't want whatever he had or whatever. And a tussle came. And so I tell my friend, give it to me, give it to me. And I was going to shoot at this guy, to try to help this guy who said he knew my brother. When I hit him, and me and my friend took off running. He died on the scene that night. I never shared this part of my life with anybody, man, not even my first sponsor, man. And the reason I'm sharing it now, man, because I want some freedom. I know that I'm an addict, man. And I want some freedom, man. I want some freedom. I don't know if I can ever go back and tell his family this stuff. I don't know if I can do that. Because to this day, they still never found the killer. But God is so amazing, man. God is so amazing. Well, I still didn't get my name. I still didn't get my name. I still was running the streets after that as time went on. And I was still so-and-so little brother. And that affected me all through my teenage years, man. So I kept doing stuff. So when I come into the rooms of Narcotic Anonymous, man, I find out that wherever I go, I take me with me. And that was so crazy when I heard that, because the same charges and stuff that I was catching back home in Alabama, I came out here to Texas and caught the same kind of charges. Who's an addict? This come out of our basic text, Narcotic Anonymous. It says everything that occurs in the course of NA service must be motivated by the desire to most successfully carry the message of recovery to the addict who still suffers. It was for this reason that we began this work. We must always remember that as individual members, groups, and service committees, we are not and should never be in competition with each other. We work separately and together to help the newcomer and for our common good. We have learned painfully that internal strife cripples our fellowship. It prevents us from providing the service necessary for growth. It is our hope that this book will help the suffering addict find the solution that we have found. Our purpose is to remain clean just for today and to carry the message of recovery. When I first went over this with my sponsor, and he was sharing with me his experience, right? And in the beginning, he was like, "Man, I heard you sharing the meat," and he was like, "Man, I can't be your sponsor." He said, I ain't never been to jail in my life, man." He said, "Not that I haven't did anything to go to jail, I just didn't get caught." He said, "But I got somebody, man, that can work with you, right?" And I kind of felt bad because I'm like, man, don't nobody want to take no chance with me, man. Don't nobody want to give me a break, man. Well, the guy he connected me with, we had a couple of phone conversations. And the day that he agreed to meet with me, I called and I called and I called and I called, and he didn't answer. So I called the guy who I asked to be my sponsor, and he said, well, that ain't like him. Let me get in contact with some people where I can get in contact with him." He said, "Cause he's a very busy man, man. And he was working at a treatment facility, or I guess it's a meeting or something over at Apple, and down in South Dallas. He was working over there. And he had been in prison. You know, I had talked to him over the phone and stuff. He was telling me, he understand, what I'm going through and stuff like that. Like, it made me feel comfortable. Like, I really wanted to get with him, one-on-one, right? So the guy who I asked to be my sponsor, he called me back. And he said, "Hey, Reg, where you at, man?" I said, "I'm at home." He said, "You going to a meeting tonight?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What's going on with old boy, man? Did you get in contact with him?" He was like, "Reg, he's dead, man." You know what my mind thought? That after I talked to this man for a couple of days, that man said, "I ain't dealing with his butt, man. I'm gonna kill myself." That's what I was thinking, man. My thinking was screwed up, man. Like, when something happened where it didn't go the way that I wanted to go, I thought some real crazy stuff, man. For instance, if somebody speed past me, I'm thinking, I hope they have an accident. I'm not thinking that they might have a kid in the car having a heart attack, or a parent or something in the car having a heart attack. I'm not thinking nothing like that. But I found out later in recovery that recovery is an active change in our ideals and our attitude. So it says, who's an addict? It says most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death. When I heard that, a light came on. A light came on. Because my first addiction was getting away with things and nobody never knowing. That gave me an adrenaline rush out of this world, man. To know that I did something and you didn't even know I'm the one that did it. Because once I started getting caught up in the lifestyle, it wasn't really about the drugs no more. I just used to always want me a little something to get high with right quick before I did what I did. Because once I got high and then I did what I did, it gave me a rush better than the high did, than the drugs. So it says, those of us who have found the program of Narcotic Anonymous do not have to think twice about this question. Who's an addict? We know The following is our experience. As addicts, we are people whose use of any mind-altering, mood-changing substances causes a problem in any area of their life. Well, I had a chance one time to admit to something I did as a kid. Because years had passed and I was still getting in trouble, right? I was sneaking doing stuff because my mama didn't play, man. I was sneaking doing stuff, man, and I was trying to make sure I don't get caught, that my mama never found out that it was her child doing this, man. Well, one day, man, my sister sitting in the living room watching a cartoon, I don't know, just watching TV. And my brother, he always stayed in trouble, always stayed going to juvie and stuff like that. And we get a knock at the door one day. And my sister looked through the peephole and she said, "Ooh, it's the police." Now, this years later. I probably was like 14 at the time. And they opened up, and my sister opened up the door. And they said, "Does Reginald Taylor live here?" You talking about somebody who's scared, man? Don't know what to do, panicking. I'm sitting up there and I'm like, most likely they're looking for my brother. When they said my name, because I thought this murder case was over with, man. I had to grow it up now. That happened as an adolescent, man. Well, they get me and take me downtown because they still haven't found no one for the murder. And they was just asking me to tell my story over again. But see, by this time, my adrenaline rushes when I know that I don't got away with something. I'm powerful, man. And I go downtown and I give them the same story that I gave them years ago when I was 9 years old. I give them the same story. And the only thing they can say was, "Well, he's telling the truth." And they let me go. Mom came down, picked me up. And I had never, after that night, the next day I seen my friend who was with me, and then I never seen him no more after that until they picked me up that day, and they had picked him up too, wherever they had moved to. They picked him up too. Because his mom didn't want him hanging around me no more. But he the one had it. But I can't blame him for doing what I did. What happened was life went on. So now I feel like I got away with something. At this point in time, we're standing in projects, and they got this Black Disciple gang. And it wasn't no Crips, it wasn't no Bloods in my neighborhood. And what happened was these guys, man, when the street lights come on, if you ain't with it, you need to be getting it. You need to be going home, man, because they're going to go down in this neighborhood here, man. They don't run from the police or nothing, man. They don't injure plenty of police back then and everything. I think we stayed on lockdown. And I was so grateful that they knew them guys, knew my family, man. Because I used to still hang out at nighttime while they doing their dirt. In some kind of way, I got pulled in. But later on, I never joined them. But later on came the Crips and the Bloods. So then it started being a lot of drive-by shootings. People not owning up to what they was doing. That was right up my alley. I was in a lot of that because it made me feel good to do something and get away with it. The adrenaline, man, running through them alleyways and jumping them fences and stuff, man, knowing you done did something and got away with it. Going to school, knowing I didn't belong in school. That was my thinking. These are squares here. They don't know what I do. I don't need to be around them. As addicts, we are people whose use of any mind-altering, mood-changing substances causes a problem in any area of their life. Adrenaline caused a lot of problems in my life, man. Fast forward to moving here to Texas. Same thing. Same thing. God is so good, man. God is so good, man. He directed me, man, to a program called Narcotics Anonymous, something that I never thought existed, man. And it changed my life, man. Changed the way that I think. Because the way that I used to think, man, it wasn't nobody who could think better than me. But all my ideas led me to trouble. Kept me in trouble. Thank God I'm clean just for the day, man. Thank God I didn't use no drugs today, man. It says most of us did not consider ourselves addicted before coming to Narcotics Anonymous program. The information available to us came from misinformed people. What happened with me coming up? When the bill man came to the door, my mom used to say stuff like, just tell him I ain't here. But then if I tell somebody, tell my mama, I ain't at their house, she won't tell my butt up. When you want to taught me how to lie. You have me telling the rent folk, you ain't here. And she was getting away with it until she get paid. Then she still pay partial. Where I get that from? But I can't blame her for that today because now I got the information. It ain't misinformed information. I got the information today. It says as long as we could stop using for a while, we thought we was all right. We looked at the stop, not the use. As addiction progressed, we thought of stopping less and less. Only in desperation did we ask ourselves, could it be the drugs? Well, my dad used to abuse my mom, man. So my dad ended up leaving. You know, they got, separated at a very young age for me, man. And I love my dad, man. You know, he was a hardworking man, went to work every day. But he was an addict, man. You know, he used to drink, man, and when he get home, you know, he used to drink more, you know, because he used to drink when he first get off work or sometimes at work. When he get off, he come home and sit down and he want me to go and get his beers and stuff like that right there. He'll drink, man. I'm talking about to the point that when he do wake up, man, he want to jump on my mama, man. And I remember being there for those fights, man. And so young, couldn't do nothing about it, man. And when I got older, that love had changed to hate because I remembered what he had did. And I remember going to visit him one day, man. And I wanted to kill my dad, man. He was already sick. I wanted to kill him, man. And he didn't even know it. I was sitting up there in his house, man, and he was asking me, I need anything and all that. I'm like, no, I'm good, man. I just came by here to see you. You know, I'm up in age now, and I can do something to you. He don't even know that was my mission. When I came over there, I wanted to do something to him. That same day that I wanted to do something to my dad, man, one of my friends, well, I ain't gonna call him my friend. It was a guy from my neighborhood. I know him, he was, I wouldn't say he was friends with my sister and brother and them, but he wasn't my friend, but I know him. And he had came and got some drugs from me, and I asked him, later on, would he go pick up something for me, and he went to go get it, he never came back. So the next day after that, I run into him and I shoot him down in the streets like a dog. I was just misled, man, because I thought that was what I wanted. That was the life I wanted. It really wasn't about the drugs for me. It was the lifestyle of having a name. I want to be somebody, man. I want to be somebody. I didn't know that I was an addict, man. And that ain't even what I came here to talk about tonight, man. But I needed to be free. I need to free myself, man. Because time don't wait for no one, man. And God has already chosen our path, man. We just got to get with it and stop fighting against it. He's appointed something for every last one of us to do, man. Because he created all of us, man, to worship him. What is worshiping God? Thanking him. It's not getting on your knees, asking him all the time, oh, God, I need, God, if you could just do this for me and all. No, just thank him. Because he said, I already knew you before you was even in your mother's womb. He said, I already knew you. Meaning that I already got a plan for you. I just need you to seek me first. Seek my kingdom first. Seek my kingdom first. And everything else will be added until you just seek my kingdom first. Quit asking me for stuff. The words say ask and you shall receive. So how do you ask? You just say thank you. Because it's already done. Stop thinking, don't thinking. That's what we came here to do, is to change the way that we think. Change the old lie that once an addict, always an addict. In the literature, it tells us when we're in a meeting, it said, introduce yourself, first name only. And it kind of sounds contradictory because later on, when you get into your first step, you got to admit that you're powerless over the disease of addiction. And now you got to say, I'm wrestling, I'm an addict. Because it said at first we didn't want to admit that we was addicts. We didn't want to admit that at first. But life shows up, and everything that happened in your life had something revolving around drugs. Just might be an addict. Or I just might be dealing with the disease of addiction. So if I'm dealing with something that's cunning, baffled, how I might want to go and check it out and see who got the information about it and try to learn of what I'm dealing with. They said we looked at the stopping and not the using. Then later on it says, we asked ourselves, could it be the drug? They said we did not choose to become addicts. We suffer from a disease that expresses itself in ways that are antisocial and that makes detection, diagnosis, and treatment difficult. So we can't go to the doctor and the doctor can tell us, oh, you got a disease of addiction. So we can't go to the hospital nowhere. We can't go nowhere and somebody can diagnose us with this, man. This is something that you have to come to grips with, that you have to find out for yourself, because it's an inside job. And the doctor can't work on your insides for you. Only God can. That's why the Spirit lives in you. Our disease isolated us from people except when we was getting, using, and finding ways and means to get more. We were hostile, resentful, self-centered, and self-seeking. We cut ourselves off from the outside world. Anything not completely familiar became alien and dangerous. Our world shrank and isolation became our way of life. We used in order to survive. It was the only way of life that we knew. I remember getting to that point. Sister was married to a drug dealer. Mother was going with a drug dealer. Other sister was going with a drug dealer. That drug dealer must be the thing to be. I dropped out of school and became a drug dealer. But in my shoes, I was using more than I was selling. Or I would just sell just enough so I can re-up. Because like I told you, my high came from when I did something that somebody didn't know I was doing. I got my mom put out. I remember the detective telling me, yeah, since you want to be grown, find your mama somewhere to stay. But she's getting evicted. And you got 30 days. Find her somewhere to stay. I remember family said, "You so stupid. What was you thinking?" But when I came to knock out the numbers, man, I'm talking about from the past to now, right now. They call on me today, man. The family call on me today, man. I remember my sister them telling my mama some stories about the streets and, oh yeah, that was, yeah. And she said she was just shaking her head saying, no, not my baby. And I came out here to Texas and did the same thing. The same kind of charges. Ended up with a life sentence, man. But God already had a plan for my life. Just like he got a plan for each and every last one of y'all life, man. He has a plan for your life. When are we going to wake up? When are we going to let him get our attention? Yeah, it seems boring sometimes. And the reason I say sometimes, because when we're receiving the gift, we have to want to stay on the trail. But when the gift stops, and you got to do the work, now it's boring. Yeah, that was me. Man, I ain't gonna be up in here with all these little dope fiend folks, man, all the time, every day, going to these meetings and stuff, man. I'm not gonna be in here, man. I got something I gotta do. Well, you ain't had nothing to do when you was sitting down there and staring on that life center. When you got shipped off to prison, you ain't had nothing to do there. The literature says our best thinking is what got us here. Sometimes I be feeling like I don't even want to think no more. When I think, I hurry up and call somebody and run it past them. Baptism was the best thing ever happened in my life, man. Because I got baptized in prison, man. Well, it wasn't prison. It was daycare. It wasn't prison. You know, I had been to prison before, but you know, when I came out here and the charges I had, I thought I was going to be maximum security, not you know, and God said, "No, got a plan for you." I didn't know that. I didn't know that He had a plan for me to prosper. I didn't know that because I had my own plan. God, how you got a plan? I got my own plan. I got the best thinking. How you got a plan for me? And I used to hear people say it all the time. I never read it. I just used to go to get out of the dorm. I just want to see the free world people come in. I'm tired of sitting in the dorm. Yeah, it's getting hot. Where I go? But something happened, man. When I kept going, something happened, man. Something happened, man. Well, it wasn't because my homeboys, well, they were my homeboys, because I ain't from here. They weren't my homeboys. It was the guys I just knew. It was just like something happened, man. And I seen guys standing up saying, yeah, they want to get baptized. But it was a personal thing for me, was that, man, I had tried all my ways and wasn't none of them successful. So in 2019, I made that decision, man. I made the decision to get baptized. And they kept telling me, well, you know, you can't be your old self no more. You got to let that old way go. All right, oh, Lord. I don't think that's where you're supposed to go. Well, the more and more that I kept seeking, God kept revealing things to me. And I stopped being last. And I started being first. Started getting picked out of the bunch, put over here. And all the guys, they like, hold up, man, go ahead, man. Like, oh, damn. God was doing something in my life trying to show me that He had always been with me. I was released February of 2020, February the 12th of 2020. And you know, COVID was bad. And they had jails and prisons finna get ready to lock them down, right? I got released February the 12th. February the 13th, they locked everything down. No movement. Guys who supposed to left on the 13th, 14th, 15th, no. They locked down. No movement. So my cell phone was ringing off the chain. The guys that was locked up with me, man, because you know I still had my site, my phone was on, and I had gave some of the guys my number, man. They were calling me and, man, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm at home, man. They're like, man, I can't even get out, man. My folks outside waiting for me, man. They say ain't no movement. I said, oh, whoa. What? Can't believe it. You know? But God had did something for me to show me that he's the same God yesterday, man, today. He's the same God from yesterday, man, today. You know, when we're reading this stuff, man, it's so powerful. And if you get confused about it, just put it in today's time. Try to look at it in your situation, what you're going through. You know, look at it in today's time, man. It says some of us misuse, and abuse drugs and still did not consider ourselves addicts. Through all of this, we kept telling ourselves, I can handle it. Our misconceptions about the nature of addiction included visions of violence, street crime, dirty needles, and jail. When our addiction was treated as a crime of moral deficiency, we became rebellious and were driven deeper into isolation. Some of the highs felt great, but eventually the things that we had to do to continue using reflected desperation. Man, I remember doing some things that was very strange for some child. And I'm talking about, I look back now and be like, man, I want to do that mess, man. A lot of the stuff that I did, man, I couldn't believe that I was doing this type of stuff with drugs, man. I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe that, man. Knock out the numbers, man. And I can't leave old comers out, man, because, you know, just the love, man. The love that you start to receive once you open your mind up. Because the literature says a new idea can't be grafted on a closed mind. So once we open our minds up, man, and start to receive some suggestions, and not only receive those suggestions, man, start doing some of it, man. Start trying to start implementing this stuff in your life, man, and just see do it work. That's what worked for me might not work for you. But there are tons of suggestions, man. There are tons of suggestions, man. Things that we can try positive that can help, man. And it may not be for you, and it may be for somebody else. You know, I've seen a lot of people reap benefits from what they say. If it wasn't for you, man. And at first, I used to be kind of self like, you know, I ain't get y'all to get that. And they say it's because of me. And I'd be like, what am I doing wrong? But I know today that this ain't about me, man. God is in control of everything. He's in control of everything, man. It ain't nothing that moves or happens without God putting his hand on it. He put his hands on me, man, and he never took them off. I ran across some guys I was incarcerated with, man. I give them cards and stuff, and the first thing they said, man, you still doing that? Because I started in there, and then, you know, they got a stigma on us that started in jail. They said, oh, that's just that jailhouse stuff. When he get out, he gonna start doing something else. But for them to see me continuing this, that's a hell of a change in their life, man. Are there any more baptisms, man? Are there any more baptisms? All right. It says we were caught in the grips of our disease. We were forced to survive any way that we could. We manipulated people and tried to control everything around us. We lied, stole, cheated,